feel really good about what I did there. You guys don't need my face big. Yes. Let's turn the music down a little bit. That's plenty of jams. Teenage Mutant Ninja Poeltls. Come on. That's my finest work to date. Come on. You guys know it. You guys know it's the best thing I've done yet. Oh, man. My Photoshop skills are not outstanding, but they're good enough for whatever that was. Good morning, everybody. I gotta change things up a little bit on today's show. Let me bring this down just the tiniest bit further. So I gotta pick my kid up. He's only in preschool for like an hour today. I gotta pick him up and take him to an eye doc. Both my kids have glasses, and the little one needs a prescription update. That should be pretty god awful. Those appointments take like a solid 100 minutes. So I got some time here to like pack snacks, and actually, honestly, I should probably pack the kids' lunch. Come to think of it, some toys. Got to make sure I got the Wi-Fi on my phone so I can let them watch something, because they put the drops in to dilate the kids' eyes, and then we just gotta sit in the room for like 20 minutes doing nothing. It gets a lot easier as they get older, but he's not that old yet. Let's throw a couple questions up on the board here. Get the day going. Good morning, Dan. 9 cap, Roto game cap. Should I drop Gafford or Thibault or Clarkson for slow-mo? I need points, field goal percent, rebounds, and some blocks. Well, if you need scoring, you probably can't have Thibault. If you need field goal percent, I mean, that's tough with Clarkson, but, you know, you guys all know my feeling on Clarkson. He's kind of a punt. He's a certain measure of head-to-head punt guy this year, but you probably can't drop him. You could probably trade Clarkson if you're in a head-to-head. Or it's Roto. I mean, I have a Roto league where I dropped Jordan Clarkson, and I haven't really felt all that bad about it, which, you know, right or wrong on that front, he has been doing more damage than help in Roto most of the year. His field goal percent has come back up a little bit after that really long stretch. You're probably not dropping Jordan. I think that would probably be a bit premature. I made a pretty good run in that league in field goal percent since I dumped him. Thibault or Gafford for slow-mo. Yeah, I'd probably drop Thibault for slow-mo. Thibault's going to be all steals and a little bit of blocks, and there's just nothing else there. So I think I'd probably drop Thibault for slow-mo. Would you roster Sohan or Nance in a 9-cat 16-teamer? Yeah, I think both of those guys probably cut the mustard for 16 teams. It sort of depends on the drop. If you're picking between the two, I would... Well, head-to-head changes the calculus a little bit. You know, it depends on if you're punting anything. Sohan has those holes in his fantasy game. Nance, his hole is mostly scoring consistency on that front. I think Nance is probably your better overall rank play, but if you need points, better assists, things like that, then you go the Sohan direction. If you need better rebounding, better percentages, better steals and blocks, you go Larry Nance. Poeltl power. Do you guys remember the TMNT rap from the movie? It was called Turtle Power. It started with Turtle power. Well, doesn't matter. By a group called Partners in Crime. Poeltl power. That's what we got going on, man. Poeltl power. We're going to talk about Jakob quite a bit during the actual thick part of today's show. I don't know if this... I was really hoping that people would appreciate the goofball graphic more. I feel let down. Dan, how was your Valentine's Day? Andre, what's up, my man? You guys may not know Andre, but he is a vital cog in what we do here at Sports Ethos. The thing that you guys might all know him from is that he's running the Ethos leagues, basketball, football, and baseball now. But he does so much more behind the scenes. Valentine's Day was fine. A little behind the scenes story on yours truly. My first date with my wife was the day before Valentine's Day, 19 years ago, 2004, February 13th, 2004. We went on our first date to Barney's Burgers in Berkeley. I was a junior in undergrad. She was a sophomore. And then she came over to my apartment. We played a bunch of video games, which was a pretty amazing thing. I think she probably just did that to try to impress me because she could tell I was a huge nerd. That was our first date. I walked her home at like 2 in the morning. So technically it rolled into Valentine's Day. So we try when we can to get Barney's, which is a chain now. There were only a couple in Northern California. They've spread to Southern California as well. So there's one that's actually like only about 6 or 7 minutes from our house here in Los Angeles, our apartment rather. So we picked up Barney's and wait a minute. And now I'm getting a call from my kid's preschool. So hold on. Sorry, everybody. Everything's fine. They were wondering why he didn't have a lunch in his little backpack, and it's nobody told him that I was picking him up at 10 o'clock. So everything's fine. Kid's fine. But yeah, so Valentine's Day, we try to get Barney's. The kids eat the grilled cheese. They have amazing curly fries. Shout out to Barney's if you guys are watching, because you started the relationship with my then future wife 19 years ago. But otherwise, we don't do a whole lot. We had a half glass of wine each after the kids went to sleep and then worked until 11:30 p.m. Woo! All right, what do we got? What's your minutes projection for Mo Bamba? Under 20. He's brand new. LeBron will probably be back. We don't have word on that yet, but they expected him to play. There's just a lot of pieces. Lakers have a lot of pieces right now. It's going to be hard for them to figure out who belongs where. I like Mo. I think if they give him a shot, he could actually be a really interesting fit for a team that needs more defense and rebounding, and can also spread the floor, which is a unique thing around LeBron. He actually makes sense a lot as a LeBron fit. The guys that work best around Braun are guys that can play defense and space the floor and slash a little bit. Now, maybe he doesn't do as much of that, but hopefully you have AD out there for a little bit. My guess is that he plays all of the Anthony Davis backup minutes, and they probably don't run them together here in the first game with Mo. So, whatever the non-AD center minutes are is my guess for Mo Bamba tonight. What do we do with Cam Thomas? Hang on a little bit longer. Just let's figure out how this thing settles. He's probably going to end up being a drop. If I had to guess, I'd say like a 75 to 80% chance he's a drop, but there's still the slight possibility that Brooklyn realizes they need more offense out there. And we saw that in the last one. And if that's the case, then he would get an opportunity to do a little bit more. All right. Let's boot up the old recording software. We got to get this thing going so I don't run late to pick up my kid. When you guys hear the music fade, you'll know that's when the show is beginning. I'm not going to turn it off, actually. I'm going to leave the music going just a little bit quieter throughout today's show. So sit tight. We'll be right back with today's show. Hold on. Poeltl power. Poeltl power. That's how we start the show today. Poeltl power. I don't care what anybody says. It's funny. You can't convince me otherwise. It's funny. Obviously, it's not spelled the same, but it is pronounced the same, and that's what's important in this world, is if you can make a wordplay joke. I spent countless seconds editing Jakob Poeltl's head onto Donatello's body for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Poeltls. If I had a lot of time, I would have edited his head onto each Ninja Poeltl. And I don't know, do I put Nick Nurse's face on Splinter? I feel like I can have a lot of fun with this. I might be overestimating how much anybody else cares about my dumb graphical abilities, but, you know, again, it's a present from me to me. Anywho, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's Fantasy NBA Today. It's a Sports Ethos presentation. It's February the 15th. We are more than halfway through the month of February. We are in the final 2 days before the NBA All-Star break, where we all get a 6-day break. We get the break, too. We'll still have shows. I guess I should mention that. We'll have a show. Our Friday show this week will likely just be a recap of Thursday, which has a handful of games, not many, typical Thursday. And then a little bit of a preview of All-Star Weekend. We'll try to do a little bit of handicapping, skills competition, three-point contest, dunk contest, stuff like that. It's hard. The dunk contest in particular is very subjective. I don't know which player is going to come up with a good idea. It's really about which one looks dunky. And then the three-point contest is amazing. You've got like superstars up and down the roster, and it's harder and harder to handicap that every year. But we'll take a peek at it. And then next week, early in the week, because the games don't come back until Thursday, we've got a number of shows to kill in there. We'll do some old man squad redux stuff. I think we'll actually have some guests early in the week just to kind of talk about what the season has meant for them so far, lessons they've learned, things of that nature. So we will still have shows. They'll be a little bit shorter. We'll try to throw a couple of them up here on YouTube as well, because that's become a thing now, and I feel good about kind of what we've done there, and I want to keep that going. For those listening on the recorded side, come hang out with us. I can speak over on the live YouTube side. We're going a little bit early today because of family stuff. I got to pick up my kid from preschool early and get him to an eye doctor's appointment. Everything's fine, we think. Likely just needs an updated prescription, but it's going to chew up the middle portion of my day, and wanted to make sure we got this show out beforehand. You can follow me on Twitter at Dan Besbris. I expect at least a couple of you to do so. And if you are indeed hanging out with us over on the YouTube side, or even if you're thinking about it, please subscribe. It's youtube.com/sportsethos, SPORTSETHOS, youtube.com/sportsethos. Again, Dan Besbris on Twitter, and it's right there on your screen if you're watching live. Let's dive into yesterday's boxes. I will get to Jakob Poeltl. There's the second game on the card yesterday. Milwaukee beat the zombie Celtics in overtime, 131-125. I don't know why it took overtime. Milwaukee very clearly didn't take this game as seriously as they needed to. Celtics decided to pretty much just give everybody a break, with the exception of kind of 3 regulars. Derek White still played a crap ton of minutes, and he's having issues with his ear. So likely he'll miss the second half of their back-to-back. Mike Muscala is questionable with rest. Robert Williams is questionable with rest. Al Horford is questionable, but intends to play during the back-to-back today. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have each already been ruled out. Marcus Smart's been out forever, so he's out. So you're looking at another zombie Celtics game tonight, and that's kind of the only reason we're handicapping this one, is because we get to do it 2 times in a row. Who's left? Sam Hauser's left. He's been really good, actually, for Boston, filling in for Jaylen Brown. He is very much a streamable play. Blake Griffin, I thought he might be questionable with rest, but it looks like he might be giving it a go. I think you can probably start Grant Williams. Let me just do it this way. Which of the guys can you start? If Al Horford plays, you can start him. If Malcolm Brogdon plays, you can start him. Those are the very obvious ones. The guys that I think you can probably start would be Hauser and Grant Williams. And then the guys that you're thinking, well, maybe is like Blake Griffin and Peyton Pritchard, who probably would have to play a bunch more if indeed Derek White does not end up playing in Boston's next ball game. Pritchard is, and I pretty much did that in order of my confidence. So if you're remembering what I just said, Horford, obviously, Brogdon, obviously, those are the goes. Hauser and Grant Williams, I feel pretty confident that I can play those guys. And then in the sort of lower tier of Griffin and Pritchard, that's really, I don't think I like that idea. Today's an overload day for a lot of fantasy teams. It's a very busy Wednesday. What is it, 10-game card tonight? Use up a weekly roster move on that when most of some of these guys at least will be playing for the Celtics on the other side of the All-Star break. I wouldn't do it. I think you're making a mistake. But that's where I'm at with the other dudes. I think the ones like the Hauser, you got him for the back-to-back, great. If you got Grant Williams for the back-to-back, great. I don't know that I'd make any moves additionally today. I think you kind of needed to do it when they still had 2 games left this half of the All-Star bye week. BI-week, not BYE. On the Milwaukee side, Chris Middleton is still has a 25 minutes limit. He hit it, and he was good. I mean, he's been really good now since they've ramped him back up slowly. My guess is that they bring him along by about 1 minute per ball game here going forward. Might be another one at 25 coming up. Who knows? He won't play in back-to-backs the rest of the way. And at some point, he's going to get up to mostly starters minutes, at which point, he'll be rocking. But he's good enough right now. Brook Lopez had a rare super off game. I'm not worried about it. This was the Drew Holiday show. He had 40. Good Lord, Giannis. Just tanking teams that aren't punting a bunch of things right now. Crazy. You remember how much crap Steve Vidovich got? We put a YouTube video out before the season where Steve and I went through the first 4 rounds of fantasy drafts and picked our hits and our busts. And his bust for the first round was Giannis. And man, he nailed it, dude. Giannis has been a disaster outside of punt formats, which I mean, it's kind of what you were hunting for anyway. But also, I think you thought that it would be a little better than this. Yikes. Ah, well. Anyway, yeah, let's keep moving along. The next one on the docket. I'm sorry, I got distracted by something. Toronto, 123-113 over Orlando. Jakob Poeltl, 37 minutes, 30 points, 9 boards, 2 assists, a steal, 6 blocks. The most beautiful part is that the Magic didn't foul him. I don't know how we skated by in this game with Jakob Poeltl not taking a free throw, but beyond the amazing line he put up, I feel like him not getting to the free throw line might be the best news of all. There was no way for him to ruin what he was doing for our fantasy teams. So, man, that was beautiful. So, Poeltl's had a weird year. Make no mistake. And with this ball game, I think he just now pushes back inside the top 100. Let me double check on the exact ranking. 84 he's at on Basketball Monster, 90 something he's at on Yahoo. I mean, that's where the numbers separating the guys are so small that it's like, how can you even really tell the difference? But this type of ball game is the thing that's going to rocket him up the board. What we needed to remember about Poeltl and why I felt so strongly about calling him a buy low leading up to the trade deadline. You guys remember I said that on this pod for like 10 consecutive days. Buy low on Jakob Poeltl is that wherever he goes, someone's taking the bubble wrap off. Dude was playing 25 and change minutes per ball game for the Spurs this year and posting value near like the kind of 90 to 100 range. But what we've known about Poeltl is that if he cranks it up to starters minutes, which go from 25 to 30 or 31 even, first of all, like just simple math would tell you that he probably gets about 20% more in basically every statistical category. But also, on top of that, there's the innate built-in desire to play harder. He was coasting with the Spurs. Everybody was. That's a tank team. There was no reason for him to sell out in a basketball game. Now he can go back to selling out, playing hard. I think you're going to see the steal rate, the block rate, the rebound rate. I think all of that stuff is going to improve here for Jakob. And so not only do you get the 20% bump of playing 20% additional minutes, I think you probably get another 5 to 10% bump just on effort. He profiles to me as someone who could go top 50 the rest of the way. And hopefully we were able to get him for a top 100 range guy because that's what he was to that point in the year. I got to say, like, I know I did a little bit of it on yesterday's podcast, but this year is going really well. I don't want to sound surprised. A lot of them do, but they don't all go as well. Last year was a little bit more of a slog. You know, we were fighting. All the COVID absences were so brutal. We were falling behind in games played. You had to stream weirdos to try to make up ground. And so last year was like, okay, can we scratch them? Can we claw? Can we get some seconds and third places? Scratch, claw. I did win one of my public roto leagues, but I had too many leagues, so it was hard to keep track. Everybody was injured. Everybody was a streamer. Last year was annoying. Crap went, like, our late picks didn't hit last year. Year before that, they were going okay, and then everything shut down, so it didn't matter. I mean, we were kicking ass that year. Year before that, I think, went relatively well, too. This year's going very, very well. If Kevin Durant would get his butt back, then we could really, like, lock it all in. But it's fun. It's fun when things are working out. And this is another one. Jakob Poeltl. You probably were able to turn, you know, an 8th round pick into someone that might be a 4th the rest of the way. It's a big deal. No other huge pieces of news from Toronto. Gary Trent sat this one out again. Junior. Sorry, he's a junior. So Precious Achiuwa gets to stick in the starting lineup. I don't know what's going to happen there when Trent Jr. comes back. It seems like he might come off the bench and be that bench gunner, which actually he was pretty successful in that role earlier this year. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. On the Orlando side, Jonathan Isaac sat this one out on the back-to-back, which meant that Bull got 16 minutes instead of like 13, but it didn't change a whole lot. The real news on the Orlando side was Cole Anthony sat this game out, and Jalen Suggs played better, but you couldn't pay me enough to roll the dice on Jalen Suggs. His fantasy game terrifies the crap out of me. Points League is a different animal. I got to be careful when I talk about this stuff. So, rephrase. You couldn't pay me enough to take Jalen Suggs in 9-cat. You could pay me enough to take him in a points league when Anthony sits. But otherwise, again, this is the Steve Stifler, I don't know, it feels like a lot of work type of moment for trying to squeeze a game out here and there. Otherwise, we've seen Markelle Fultz play really well lately. That's been nice. He's kind of settled in. He was someone that we talked about as a stash at the beginning of the year. It took him a while to kind of get his feet right, but he's clearly their guy. So we rumble along. Phoenix over Sacramento. Josh Okogie, I owe you an apology. I said on yesterday's podcast that I didn't think he would have the usage with all of the guys here, minus Kevin Durant, but he still had the usage. He played 39 minutes. That was a team high for Okogie. 19 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, continues to shoot the ball weirdly well. TJ Warren only got 7 minutes. I do think that once Kevin Durant is in there, there's just not going to be anything for anyone besides Durant, Paul, Booker, and Ayton. But in the very short term here, and I think Suns have one more game before the All-Star break, right? They go tomorrow. Phoenix play Thursday. Anybody on YouTube hit me in the... Yeah, they're hosting the Clippers tomorrow. So you might be able to get one more game out of Okogie, and then I think their hope is that they will have Durant back after the All-Star break. I think that's what they're gunning for. So no real news on the Phoenix side other than, yeah, you might be able to get one more game out of Josh Okogie. For Sacramento, I've seen I follow a lot of Kings people on Twitter. Founder of our website, Aaron Brewski, who knows more about Kings basketball and pinky fingered from all these years covering them. He's been pointing it out, and there's been this weird Kings realm pushback that I've seen, and I can understand both sides of this. And I don't want to get too far down this rabbit hole, but sometimes I talk to Brew about the Kings, and he's like, everybody hates me over there. And I'm like, honestly, dude, I think they just hate not like having to think about the negatives. Because when a team's been bad for that long, they don't want to think about the stuff that is or can go wrong. So in this instance, I feel like both sides are actually right in different ways. And what I'm talking about here is Brew has pointed out a number of times over the last year that De'Aaron Fox is the key to that team winning. When he was bad last season, and Fox was bad last season, the Kings were awful. And Fox has been unreal this year. I would argue the best fourth quarter player in the NBA this season. And then Domantas Sabonis, like, you love his offense, but defensively, he is an absolute train wreck. And so how do you sort of reconcile those two things? Well, Kings realm, they sort of don't want to hear it because I think they just want to enjoy having a slightly better team. And at the same time, you kind of can't put your head so far down in the sand to see, okay, well, our upside is capped if we can't stop anybody from going to the rim. And they can't right now. But there isn't really a choice. So from a fantasy standpoint, there's nothing to worry about. Sabonis is going to put up his big numbers. Fox has been amazing. Keegan Murray is going to go up and down a little bit because his job is mostly just to hit three-pointers. Kevin Huerter's been better lately because Malik Monk has been out, but he's been kind of fringy otherwise, and everything else stays the same. Harrison Barnes, remember early in the year, I just kept saying, I don't think there are enough shots for him. I don't think there are enough shots. And then for like 3 weeks in a row, he just kept hitting 6 out of 8 shots every ball game. And finally, I was like, I guess you can play him while he's hot. And then obviously the other shoe drops at some point, and he hasn't had enough usage. Not with good De'Aaron Fox and offensively very skilled Domantas Sabonis, and not with Huerter and Monk and Murray coming on. There just wasn't enough. I'm kind of extending how much I talk about each team here because it is a short card. Washington, Portland. This was an annoying game to handicap for a couple of reasons. The first one being Daniel Gafford got himself into brutal foul trouble. 5 fouls in 14 and a half minutes for Gafford. So we got one piece of data back. As you guys might recall, when I was talking about what I was looking for in this game on yesterday's podcast, I mentioned I want to see what the Wizards look like when Kyle Kuzma comes back. What does that do to Daniel Gafford and Denny Avdia? Well, we saw what it did to Avdia. Denny has these games every once in a while where he's just not playing as well, but this wasn't like a terrible game for Denny. He was his lineup was a +6 when he was on the floor. In fact, every Wizard that touched the floor had a positive plus-minus, which is kind of crazy. But that's a bad sign for him that Kuzma coming back pretty much just took all of his stuff. On the other side, I don't really know what it means for Daniel Gafford because as it turns out, Delon Wright played better, so he got like a 10-minute bump in yesterday's ball game. Would those minutes go to Avdia or would those minutes go to Gafford? It's not a one-to-one thing with Washington. And so my take on this, after seeing this ball game with Gafford in foul trouble, mind you, is that when everybody is healthy and not dealing with fouls, by the way, Porzingis got in foul trouble in this game a little bit also, but it was a blowout, so it didn't strongly impact the final playing time numbers. Ignoring that, if we can, it seems like with Kuzma back in there, and he's going to get his 30-some-odd minutes, guys like Delon Wright and Kendrick Nunn and Daniel Gafford and Denny Avdia and Corey Kispert are going to be in a little bit of a hot hand situation. Now, Gafford is starting, which does give him a leg up on the competition. Most games, if he's not in foul trouble, he'll probably hit 23, 24 minutes per game. I don't feel nearly as confident that he gets up into that 29 to 30 range. I feel like at least, 3 to 5 of those minutes were probably just because Kuzma was out. And so they had to play Gafford, Porzingis together at the big man spots more often, as opposed to Porzingis at the 5, Kuzma sliding up to the 4, and then the ability to go with more Delon or more Avdia or whatever. However, we don't know. And Gafford's been so damn good lately that, in my opinion, we've got to give him one more ball game. I think. The annoying part is they play tomorrow, so we won't have that information until basically the last second before the All-Star break. But at that point, we'll probably know better. They've got Minnesota. Provided Gafford doesn't foul Anthony Edwards a bunch of times, there aren't that many guys that he's going to be hacking throughout that ball game, I hope. But then we'll probably know more about whether or not we can roll with Gafford post-break or not. That's where I sit on that one. Try to give him a little bit more time. Anthony Simons had kind of a nasty little ankle sprain towards the end of this ball game. I think the expectation is that he may actually miss time after the All-Star break. And for Portland, you know, what does that mean? Well, they're done before the break. They don't have any more games until, when the hell did they go again? Thursday the 23rd, I think. They're in Sacramento out of the break. My guess is that they have Jeremy Grant back for that one. I don't know if they'll have Yusuf Nurkic back for that one. So even if we assume that Nurk and Simons are out, you probably get a relatively similar lineup construction to what we saw in this ball game, which was Drew Eubanks, who has looked a little bit better, actually, over the last, 2 games for the Blazers, as kind of your back-end fill-in center. You got 30 minutes of Matisse Thybulle with arguably the lowest usage rate on planet Earth. 2 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 4 steals. And that's what you have him for. If you have Thybulle on your team, it's because you're making a strong push to win steals and blocks. Because he's going to kill you in points and boards and assists. And threes, and he'll be sort of a net neutral in the percentages because he doesn't shoot at all. It'll be a positive in turnovers, most likely. But he can be so hyper elite in steals and blocks that in 9-cat, at least, that might actually be enough steals, blocks, and turnovers to kind of counterweight how awful he is in the other things. We shall see. It's very much it's a specialist appeal. He makes sense in, frankly, a lot of roto leagues where you're like, man, I wonder how fast I can move up the board in these defensive stats. And you could just deploy Thybulle for 2 weeks and see if maybe you can get 15 steals and 10 blocks. That's a big deal. But, head-to-head, he's tough to use full-time. Points league, he'd be impossible to use full-time. And then Cam Reddish played 33 minutes in this ballgame, but had 18 points and almost got himself a Boyan, which you guys may recall was that game last year when Bojan Bogdanovic had 31 points and 5 3-pointers and zeros in every other category. He might have had 1 turnover. That's a Bojan. Reddish almost got a Bojan. 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 steal. His fantasy game doesn't profile very well. When the Blazers are healthy, I don't think he plays very much because what this team is needed, I thought, was actually what Josh Hart was doing, but they traded him off because probably they can't afford it. And they got a first-rounder back in that deal, I believe, so that counts for something. But Thybulle actually fits much better with what the Blazers need in their first unit, and that's anybody to help on the point of attack on defense. So that's where we are with the Blazers. And the last game of the night, Clippers beat the Warriors in a surprisingly high-scoring game. It actually wasn't, the pace wasn't nearly as fast as the point total would indicate, and that's because the teams shot 54 and 53%, respectively, and combined for only 19 turnovers in the whole ball game. Also, how about that Kawhi Leonard? How about it? Kawhi Leonard is now number 17 per game on the season. Over the last 2 months, Kawhi Leonard is number 5 behind Jokic, Embiid, KD, who hasn't played very much over that stretch, but still, and Shea. Over the last 2 months, that's where Kawhi is at. If you're wondering, has it gotten better over the last month? Yep. Number 4. He's ahead of Shea. He's behind only Jokic, Kyrie, and Dame over the last month. This was why you took Kawhi near 30 in your roto leagues. Not your head-to-head leagues, because we knew it was going to be a bumpy ride. It was never a guy you should have taken in head-to-head. And here's kind of a funny stat on Kawhi Leonard. As completely brutal as this season has been for him, he's now number 76 by totals on the year. By totals. He's in front of Ja Morant by totals on the year in 14 fewer ball games. Is that insane or what? That's crazy. He's ahead of Klay Thompson in 13 fewer ball games. I like Klay. I'm not trying to pick on him. This is the power of having somebody who posts first-round value when they're out on the floor. Remember 2 weeks ago, we were talking about Kawhi, and he was just outside the top 100 by totals? It's crazy to blow past 30 players at this point in the year when you're like 15 to 20 games behind the guys you're passing. Honest to goodness, by the end of February, he'll probably be in the 50s by totals. There is a legitimate shot for Kawhi Leonard to get near his ADP despite missing effectively 2 months. That's nuts. It's not as nuts as Nikola Jokic shooting under 50% only one game the entire year, but this is also pretty nuts. And this is why you waited. That's why you waited on Kawhi. Again, you can't draft him in head-to-head. You just can't do it. It'll kill you. A lot of these guys that you know are going to sit a ton of ball games, you can't draft in head-to-head. Hey, before we finish up the recap and talk about the Warriors side, and actually a little bit more on the Clippers side, I want to remind everybody watching on YouTube to please just take a second, scroll down real fast, hit that thumbs up button. I know it's a lighter audience today because I didn't promo it as much, and we're going at a different time, and everybody was sort of waiting for the 9 o'clock start, and we started more at like 8:35-ish today. But obviously, if this is something you guys are enjoying, please take a second to like and subscribe to our YouTube page, sportsethos.com/YouTube. It means a ton. Maybe some of you guys are doing it after the fact. That's also fine. Hugs and kisses and all that good stuff. Let's get back into it because, again, I got to fly today with my kid getting picked up from preschool shortly. Other stuff on the Clippers side besides this Kawhi slobberfest here. Norman Powell has really settled into this serious gunner role, so he does still belong on rosters. Paul George has pretty much just become the point guard on that team. Eric Gordon made his Clippers re-debut, coming back after a long time away. He was okay, but he's not going to be a fantasy asset the rest of the way. The thing you were really watching, well, a bunch of people were like, hey, should we pick up Bones? I was like, what? What are you talking about? When the hell is he going to get 25 or 30 minutes on this team? No. The thing you should be watching is what does Mason Plumlee do to Ivica Zubac? And in this ball game, not a ton. Zubac struggled to rebound, which is weird. I mean, some of that is just the Warriors, and some of that's everybody made a ton of shots. There were only 36 rebounds acquired by each team in this ball game. That's a very, very low number. That'll happen when everybody's making buckets. I'm genuinely concerned that as Plumlee settles in with this team, he starts to work his way up towards 20 or 21 minutes. And then for Zubac, especially when you consider the fact that the Clippers will go small ball every once in a while and play Batum or Marcus Morris Sr. at the 5, if Zoo and Plumlee are only splitting like, say, 44 center minutes, which between the two of them yesterday, they were at 45 center minutes, but let's say 44, 45. And if Plumlee's getting even 18 or 19 of those, that's not going to be enough for Zubac. His value came when he cleared like 32 minutes per ball game, and I don't see how that happens the rest of the way. So hold on a little bit longer, but my outlook on Zoo is suboptimal. As far as the Warriors go, we were paying attention to Dante DiVincenzo, and then Andrew Wiggins got ruled out for personal reasons late here, so Dante got a start. As far as data goes, collecting data, this doesn't tell us a lot. Dante shoots less when he's jammed in there with the usage guys like Clay and Jordan Poole in the starting unit. He seems to actually do more offensively when the path is a little bit clearer for him. But it does seem like right now DiVincenzo profiles as he's kind of in that weird fantasy purgatory right in between schedule stream and full play. Like full injury stream would be use him in head-to-head, use him in roto, and you don't have to think about it until Steph comes back. Schedule play is you wait until the Warriors have a back-to-back or 3 games in 4 nights or 4 games in 6 nights or whatever, set you're looking for, and then use them for that. And this purgatory, and I don't have a name for it, it's right between schedule stream and full stream. It's a partial stream, I guess. which is he probably makes sense on the head-to-head side, even if the schedule is only okay. Now, bad schedule, I don't think you could play him there, but an okay schedule or better, he's probably playable head-to-head. And then Roto, like if there's one more guy out, like in this one with Wiggins, or if Poole misses a game, or if Clay misses, by the way, Clay played on the back-to-back here, was also a piece of news. But if Clay has to sit one, then in addition to Steph being out, then you're looking at Dante and you're like, okay, that's probably enough for Roto. But otherwise, that fringy nature to it, I don't want to blow a games cap on someone where I don't feel more confident in it. Kevon Looney's actually been kind of right in that same area lately. Probably a little bit lower. More like a straight schedule stream for Kevon, but also kind of a rebounding specialist if you're hunting that in whatever format you're doing. All right, let's take a look at what's going on tonight. We'll do the sort of speed round here on the big-ish Wednesday coming up. And then for our live viewers, we'll pivot into the live chat, which, again, hoping all of you guys on the recorded side will come join over there. Or you can hit me up on Twitter at Dan Besbris, as per usual, at DanBesbris. Mid-show reminder on that one. Again, youtube.com/sportsethos if you want to join us on the live side. Here's what's going on Wednesday. Chicago is in Indiana. Oh, this is interesting. So overnight for Roto, I tweeted this, but I didn't have a chance to talk about it yesterday all that much. I think I mentioned it in passing on the podcast. I picked up Alex Caruso in a bunch of Roto leagues in the hopes that he plays and DeMar doesn't. I believe DeMar is doubtful. Caruso is a game time call. But last time we saw DeMar miss, 2-3 games with the quad thing, whatever it was, 3 weeks ago? Caruso was huge in those games. His fantasy numbers were monstrous. I will absolutely sacrifice some low upside rest of season guy on my Roto side to see if I can wring a couple of top 75 games out of Caruso here. Or maybe it's just one. I don't know. DeMar, I think it was grade 1 this on his strain, so he might very well be back after the All-Star break. He's super durable, but also the Bulls look awful, so maybe they start to pivot in a different direction. Chicago's a place we should be keeping our eyes open for possible shutdown stuff. I think they're going to push here, but they've looked so bad lately. And if they start to fall out of the picture we're probably still like a solid 4 to 5 weeks away from the Bulls pulling the plug on anything, so it's not imminent. But if or when it does happen, Caruso, if he's playing, Patrick Williams, Ayo Dosunmu, even Kobe White, these guys all could be silly season dudes. But for now, just Caruso is the guy I'm watching today and trying to squeeze into my Roto lineups if he plays and DeMar sits. Indiana, Miles Turner is the question mark. If he plays, obviously, then you just wipe everybody out. If he doesn't, we saw Isaiah Jackson look pretty good, even relieving Daniel Tice. Love to see that again. San Antone. I believe Trey Jones has already been ruled out, which means you can probably stream Devontae Graham in most formats. Malachi Branham, more so in points leagues or some head-to-head builds. Jeremy Sohan, I don't remember the last update on him. I believe he's in. If I got that wrong, then I apologize. I'm part of trying to track 1,000 players here first thing in the morning. He also, again, profiles more on that head-to-head or points league side. And then Zach Collins has been pretty good everywhere. Oh, Charlotte, I do love watching Mark Williams cook. Should be fun, especially against a tanking team. That could be an interesting and fun one. Cleveland, nothing. Philly, DeAnthony Melton. This is he's got 2 more chances in my eyes at this point. I'm not going to stick with him forever. I do want to give him a pretty long leash here because he's been so good. But it feels more and more like he needs a backcourt guy to be out now that Jalen McDaniels is in town. And as far as I know, there are no backcourt guys out for Philly tonight. New York, do we get starter Josh Hart in this ball game? He's been incredible in his 2 games with the Knicks. That's pretty much all I'm worried about there. Anybody else that you're thinking about on the Knicks as a fringe play is more of a schedule stream at best. Atlanta, I think I just saw a John Collins update flash by. Yeah, he participated in shoot-around today. So what does that look like for John now with Sadiq Bey backing him up? And DeAndre Hunter, there's just a little bit more in the kind of big wing part of the proceedings there. I think John Collins actually has a pretty good end of the year now that he's doesn't have to worry about trade rumors anymore. But I guess we'll see. For Miami, Tyler Hero still doubtful. He might have been ruled out already, but I'm pretty sure he's at least doubtful. Lowry's out, so I think you can stream Gabe Vincent. You can maybe stream Max Strus, and that's about as far as I'd go. For Brooklyn, I kind of want to see what Cam Thomas does, because we saw Brooklyn in their last ball game. They really struggled to score in the second half. He can score. He's probably the second best creator on the team behind Spencer Dinwiddie. It kind of feels like they need him out there. So keep a close watch on Brooklyn. I wouldn't drop Cam Thomas yet. If we see him with very little opportunity over the next 2-ish ball games, then I'd probably move on, especially when there are so many hot pickups right now. So it's harder to hold someone when there are great dudes out on the wire. But it does. I mean, you guys all saw that last ball game. Brooklyn looked pretty good for the first half. Then the Knicks started trying on defense, and the Nets couldn't score at all. For now, it's the same 4 guys for Brooklyn: Cam Johnson, Spencer Dinwiddie, Nick Claxton, and Mikal Bridges. But hang on to Thomas if you can. Just a little bit longer. I don't think you need to hang on to Ben Simmons. He's getting dragged everywhere right now. That dude's career might just kind of be over. Detroit, do we get the debut of James Wiseman? There's been a lot of chatter about whether he's going to start. And there was a report that was like, oh, James Wiseman is going to start. But I'm pretty sure that the full quote was, if he earns it. So my guess is Wiseman's coming off the bench behind Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren. I am not worried about Duren. He's been incredible. They love him. He's the future big man there. I'd be a little bit worried about Stewart. But Wiseman is not someone that I'm picking up before I see how this goes. Again, there's just so many hot pickups that are like basically locked into value. Why would I take a flyer on someone? How many damn roster slots do I have at this point? We had 3 rest of season pickups from the trade deadline. How many roster slots do we need? Zombie Celtics, we already talked about them at the beginning of the show because they played yesterday. The Rockets, I mean, like I said, I think Tari Eason is probably not going to do it this year. Like I've been saying, they needed a forward to get traded. He didn't, but, you can keep an eye on it. Oklahoma City, this should be a very high-scoring game. Curious to see if Dario Saric gets in the mix. Curious if Jeremiah Robinson Earl's minutes ramp up. What does that mean for some of the other guys like Kenrich Williams, Jalen Williams, stuff like that? But, nothing huge there. For Utah, not a whole lot of big stuff either. I think we pretty much have it nailed down what that team's going to look like here for the next however many weeks. Memphis, they got a couple of pieces floating around, but I don't expect them to be big impact guys. So, just the same old schedule stream stuff at the Steven Adams replacement post. Dallas, just another opportunity to see what Luka and Kyrie look like together. What is Christian Wood? What does his minute total look like in this ball game? And then Josh Green, what does he look like as we're seeing the sort of hot game, cold game stuff? Does he level off somewhere fantasy usable? My guess is barely yes. That's my guess for Josh Green. Denver, Jamal Murray, I believe, is questionable for this one. I think they probably sit him just to give him the All-Star break. There's sort of no reason to push it, although I'm sure they'd love to beat the new-look Mavs and just kind of slap them down a little bit. And Aaron Gordon, I actually haven't seen an update on him. But, if anybody's out, you play Bruce Brown, same story. For the Pellies, we saw Josh Richardson had a really good ball game last time out. I wonder if he'll do that again. And if he truly does settle into that kind of role here, then we can give him another look. Watch list material right now. Herb Jones will probably have a really good game against the Lakers. A disjointed, new chemistry-building Lakers club. That always means turnovers. And steals guys benefit in a big way when they're playing a team that's likely to have extra turnovers. So I like Herb. I think Trey Murphy, he played really well against the Lakers in New Orleans. Cooled off a little bit in his last ball game, but had some blocks. I think I would start both of those guys. And then, Brandon Ingram always kicks butt against his old team. As far as the Lakers go, I don't think I'd start anybody besides Bron, AD, and D'Angelo. But I am extremely curious what this team looks like here with Mo Bamba's suspension finished. that he started in Orlando. And then you got Vanderbilt and Beasley also with opportunities to do stuff. That's, again, probably more interesting on the reality side, but, whatever. And now I got to go get my kid from preschool. So thanks for hanging with us, everybody. This was Fantasy NBA Today, a Sports Ethos presentation. We'll have a big wrap-up on this huge Wednesday. Tomorrow's card on Thursday morning around 9 o'clock a.m. Pacific time. We'll get that bad boy fired up. Thank you to my recorded listeners. You guys are the best. I'll see you guys on social media later on today. So long for now. And we're really going lightning round on the question. So if you've got one, get it in there because I'm not going to hang out for very long. I have to leave here so soon. Markel Fultz. Actually, I think I can switch this to the player tab in case we need to show anybody's name. Fultz has been killing it recently. Do you think he's turned a corner in his career? Yeah, probably. Actually, kind of looked like he had last year before he got hurt. Drop a like, people. Yeah, there aren't that many of you here today. That's okay. We're kind of rushing. I didn't promo it very much because I knew I was going to be moving fast. This show is really very much for the regulars, but I hope that someone out there finds it and then subscribes. That would be cool. Do you have any sleeper rebound blocks guys who have low ownership but could pop second half? So the guys you want to look for, not even necessarily for the rebounds, that kind of thing. The guys you want to look for here are the teams that are still fighting for a playoff spot, but might soon find themselves not anymore. So that's a team like the Pacers. They have some very clear backups in the big man department that could rocket into fantasy value. Isaiah Jackson would be the lead candidate on that team. The Bulls, I don't know that Vooch ever fully shuts it down, but if DeMar takes some time off, or if Zach LaVine takes some time off, or frankly, even if Vooch takes some time off, Andre Drummond, Patrick Williams, Ayo Dosunmu, Alex Caruso, all of those guys on Chicago could potentially see a very large boost. And if you're looking over at the Western Conference, I feel like this is going to be a battle right down to the very bitter nubs of the season. But the Jazz, right now, the Warriors, the Jazz, the Blazers, the Thunder, and the Lakers are all in a serious dogfight for the 10 spot and 9 spot, I guess. And frankly, if the Wolves cool off or the Pelicans cool back off again, then it becomes a dogfight for the 7 through 10 spots. And honestly, the Clippers and the Mavs are right there as well, although the Clippers have been playing a lot better lately. So I kind of want to push them up above. I think the Mavs, once their chemistry settles, they'll probably push up above. So it really does look like the 7 through 10 for the West are going to be the ones that everybody's beating each other up for, which means that it's going to be later in the year when teams start to pull the plug on guys. But if, let's say the Jazz, they're 5-5 their last 10. I think the Jazz probably lose a few ball games here without Mike Conley. I know they're finding a way, but Conley, Vanderbilt, and Beasley leaving is a pretty big deal for them. And there's this very short-term, we can all play harder and we can salvage this thing kind of road. But to me, the Jazz will probably fall off eventually. And, there aren't that many veterans left on that team, but Kelly Olynyk is a veteran. Maybe he ends up sitting the last 2 weeks of the season. But there just aren't that many backups there. Now that Vanderbilt is gone, he would have been the guy that I would have looked at. Taylor Horton-Tucker would be a guy for Utah that maybe sees more action if other guys start to get shut down. If the Blazers happen to fall apart, again, they'll fight until the very last second. But if they fall apart, then you're looking at a guy like a Shaedon Sharpe or a Trendon Watford. We're talking very last seconds of the year. And then for the Lakers, it would be like a Mo Bamba or a Vanderbilt if they ever pulled the plug on Anthony Davis or LeBron James. So that's kind of what you're looking for that type of low ownership late season bump. Expectations for Kelly Oubre rest of season. I think he comes back and he just starts gunning again because he doesn't know any other way to play. It's a hand thing. Wasn't it a hand thing that he had surgery on? So he doesn't have the conditioning element. They'll have to ramp him up a little bit, but it won't be 15 minutes, 18 minutes, 19 minutes, 20 minutes, 21 minutes. It'll probably be 22, 24, 26. It'll get ramped up, I think, pretty quick. Ooh, my voice is running out here. That's unexpected. This is sort of the same answer to the previous question of where to look. Funny story about this that Brew told me once, that he ran into someone that recognized him from Roto World. Well, maybe it'll happen to me someday. Kelly Olynyk or Zach Collins? I'll go Olynyk. Donatello is the best Ninja Turtle. Solid choice. Hey, he does machines, man. It's kind of the nerdy one. I like the nerdy one. Time Lord or Jalen Duren or Mark Williams? Got to pick two, and I can't have more than 4 centers in a points league. Head-to-head, unfortunately, you're probably leaving Robert Williams on the wire because he's skipping back-to-backs. Mark Williams, for me, is definitely a hold here. And then Jalen's been so good. I can't make this decision today. I kind of need to see if Duren loses even like 3 minutes to James Wiseman. If Duren holds, yeah, I'm probably dropping Duren, unfortunately, because there is a little bit more competition. But the Time Lord back-to-back sitting stuff is a little bit frustrating for head-to-head. Malachi Branham, Slow-Mo, Tari Eason, 9-cat head-to-head. Houston's playoff schedule is so nice. It's probably Slow-Mo for me. He's far and away the best 9-cat player among those 3 guys. The only fear there is, does Karl Anthony Towns show up before your playoffs start? I know Houston has the better schedule, but Eason playing 18, 19 minutes a game to me just isn't enough, even in a 4-game weeks. Poeltls in a half shell. Yeah, Poeltl power. Thoughts on Isaiah Joe rest of season? He is a 3-point streamer. That's it for me. Thanks for providing quick hits every day. Any special prep you do 2 weeks before the playoffs? Yes. I make ads and drops 2 weeks before the playoffs, provided I have a secure spot. Otherwise, it's 1 week before the playoffs. I pick up guys that have a front-loaded schedule the first week of my postseason. I start the long streaming in advance because basically you can use all of your moves the week before your playoffs begin to front-load your schedule the following week. Guys that go Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, or something like that. 3 games the first 4 days of your playoff week. And then you don't have to use any moves during your playoff week until Friday. Pick up someone that goes Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday, and basically if you did this with 4 roster slots, you'd have 4 roster slots that end up with a 5-game week. That's crazy. Each. Even in a worst case scenario, you added 4 games to your ledger. And in a more likely case scenario, some of those guys that you replaced were going to be a 3-game week. So you may go from like 12, 13, 14 games in those roster slots to 20. Anywhere between 4 and 8 extra games by using your moves the week before. So yes, front load your playoff roster. And check for overload days too. Kelly Oubre. Actually, did you ask this question up above? Yeah. Don't worry, I got to it, buddy. Stream the spot or pick up Olynyk, Slow-Mo, or KCP. I'm projected for second and trying to get into first in Roto League. Oh, boy. These guys are all 12-teamers in my eyes. KCP's been the safest of the 3. Olynyk, the second safest, and then Slow-Mo's on a minutes restriction right now. So, I don't know. I mean, if you're streaming a spot in this league, does that mean you don't have a games cap? If you don't have a games cap, then yeah, you should stream the crap out of it and just load up games played. But if you do have a games cap, I think all of these guys are good enough to play in 12-teamers. That's what I believe. Thank you, everybody. I know this is a quick one, a low promo show. Please click like and subscribe on your way out. I'm going to go get my kid at preschool. Later. See you on Twitter.